And we're going to call on the acting Chief Investment Officer of the National Social Security Fund of Uganda, Kenneth Owera, to address us. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause. I guess you could do better. Thank you.
Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, dignitaries present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Kenneth Owera, as I've been introduced, and I'm currently the acting Chief Investment Officer at NSSF. So we are one of the sponsors today, and we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to come and showcase what NSSF is all about. At least, why should we be relevant to the community in the UK, and also what we are doing in order to be able to hopefully attract some co-investment. So NSSF Uganda is the National Provident Fund mandated by the government to collect contributions from the private sector, invest these contributions, and ultimately pay out a lump sum to the private sector upon retirement. And that is at the age of 60. Now, 2 years ago, the government felt that it was important that NSSF expands its mandate to the rest of Ugandans, and as a result, the law was amended to allow for NSSF collect voluntary contributions from every Ugandan, and that's a population of about 45 to 48 million, depending on what numbers are there. So effectively, our mandate as NSSF is national, to collect contributions from everyone. To just give you some brief information about NSSF, currently we have about 2.6 members, of which 2.6 million, of which 800,000 members are actively saving with us, and this is from the private sector. Of those, they have saved up to $7 billion US, of which this is invested into three broad areas. That is your government securities, your listed and unlisted equities, and then real estate. I'm also happy to note that about 75% of this sum is invested in Uganda, and then about 25% is invested in East Africa. That is Kenya, Tanzania, and just a small bit in Rwanda. Now, speaking to the voluntary vehicle that the government allowed for us to tap into, in just 6 months, we have managed to collect about $9 million from about 30,000 members so far. Now, the story here is that we are collecting a minimum of 5,000 Uganda shillings, and that is about £1. You know, if you're looking at it from the Great British Pound. If it is dollar, then we are talking about $1.5. And what we are seeing is just the potential that is available in terms of mobilizing savings. The previous panel was talking about, the digital bits of finance, and we have been able to use, mobile phones to mobilize savings. So effectively, every Ugandan in every corner of the country, at any point in time, can, in the comfort of their homes, send that £1 at any moment to NSSF. And just in 6 months, we have been able to collect about $9 million. Now, I would just like to talk about three key things, and hopefully I can be able to pick some interest within the areas we are operating, but also to tell you about the relevance of NSSF, especially to some of the people in this room. If you're to look at the Asian tigers, and this is a story that is always referred to, For them to be able to power their development, they had to mobilize savings domestically. And for it to be effective, they looked at a savings to GDP of about 30%. If you're to look at Uganda's case at the moment, our savings to GDP is at about 11%. Now, this is against a backdrop of a global financial system that is largely changing. The funding that used to be previously available is currently a bit hard to get, and it's not as cheap as it used to be. Therefore, it is important that the different countries in Africa and Uganda as well are able to mobilize domestic savings to drive local growth. NSSF is playing a big role in this case, and as I mentioned, with the amendment of the law, we did set up a vehicle called the SmartLife that would allow for one to save that £1, that $1.5, that 5,000 Uganda shillings at any point, any time. For the Ugandans in the diaspora, this is a very, very good opportunity for you to save towards your retirement as well. As you work hard here, you can also save in a way that is safe, in a way that your money will not get impacted. We do have a story, and as NSSF, we like that we do touch lives. A lady in one of our critical markets called Owino, in fact, told us that previously she used to save her money in a box at home. Unfortunately for her, one day the husband comes back and he decides to tap into her bank account, which was under the bed. But now with the NSSF, her money is not easily reachable by anyone who'd want to tap into the funds. In fact, she came to us and said, look here, I try to save as much and as often as possible. And in a space of a month, just by saving her £1 or 5,000 shillings, she has been able to accumulate a sum of £200 as we speak. That is about 1 million Uganda shillings. So this is critical in the sense that, just by those small sums that we are able to mobilize, we are increasingly contributing towards expanding our savings to GDP. And in effect, the hope is that we can then be able to drive domestic development in a more effective manner. The second point I want to make is around housing. And again, for many Ugandans in the diaspora, the story is that you come here to look for opportunities and you work very hard, you save money, and you send bits and pieces of this money to your family members back home to help you acquire a piece of land and gradually to develop this land and have a house for yourself. The stories that we hear are not very encouraging because for many people, sometimes you come back and the trusted family members have not done what you expected them to do for you. So normally you find that maybe they bought you the land, but the quality of house that has been offered isn't to the standard that you like. In other cases, even the land has not been acquired. So effectively, all your years of hard work, all the savings have gone to nothing. So NSSF comes in at this point by offering you experts to be able to supervise your housing. We normally have your project managers, resident engineers, external consultants to help with the development of properties. Now, this is at a micro level, and we do offer housing to the various segments of the market. If you're to look around just to the left of the room, you will see that we have a number of, just teardrops that speak to one of our residences that have been developed, a luxury residence of 306 units for, the mid to top end of the market. But we're also developing products that can speak to the mid to the lower end of the market. And this is also an area where I would like to encourage investors in the room especially to come and partner with NSSF. We are looking in the area of affordable housing. Affordable, smart housing, sustainable housing that is friendly to the environment. So this is an area that NSSF is keenly looking at to work with the government to be able to offer solutions that can help bridge the housing deficit in the country. Lastly, is on the issue of the structure of global finance. Members in this room, I'm sure we are all aware of what is happening in the global economy. About 12 months ago, we had a new leadership in America, and I need not tell anyone in the room what followed within the next few months. What we previously knew was one of the biggest financiers globally, especially in the global south, was withdrawn, and the impacts of that have been significant. Shortly thereafter, we have also seen many of the developed countries increasingly look inward. So effectively, where we were seeing support coming to developing and emerging countries, we are now seeing that money is no longer available. At a time when countries were able to get cheap money globally, we are talking of the ranges of 2-3%. Right now, it is a bit difficult for many countries. You go to the market, you look for that kind of money, that money is hard to come by. What we tend to see is that many countries are now going towards more commercial sorts of funding, and that obviously comes with its own challenges. If you're to look at the number of African countries that have had issues in the past 12 or 24 months, you will see that the common trend among these has been that the borrowing has been commercial, has been in foreign currency, and subsequently there has been a number of challenges. Now, what this calls for effectively is a change in the financing model globally towards a system that is more sustainable, a system that can be able to support the development of many of the local economies. In this case, basically, NSSF is saying that for a local aggregate of capital like ourselves, where with the support of government we have been able to mobilize up to $7 billion, it is important that many of the players come together. Just before I came on, there was a panel of the banks giving their opinions around the aspect of financing. In the morning, we did have the honorable ministers and deputy prime minister, as well laying the foundation of the need by the different countries, in this case Uganda, basically around the available investment opportunities. Members in the room, as I finalize, I would just like to welcome global financiers to come. NSSF is willing. We are a domestic financer. We are willing to invest in the country, but it is important that the different forms of capital work together in a way that can be able to support development in a sustainable manner. This would also be a call to the government that, the different ways, there are different ways that government can chip in. In the past, we have seen governments commit huge sums of capital towards projects. But what we are saying is that government can play a de-risking role to allow for private capital to come in. The minister at a point referred to Umeme's court session coming to an end sometime this year. And as NSSF, we were actively invested in that. We are still keen on investing in the areas you talked about. And we would like to partner with government in a way where if government is able to de-risk these areas for us, we are happy as NSSF to come in with the money that we have to be able to support local development. Colleagues, I would like to thank you for your time and wish you happy deliberations. Thank you very much.